Thanks so much for your amazing introduction and your applause. Hi, I'm Hale, and I'm going to read something that is completely hot off the griddle. It's the beginning of a new story that I've been working on. It's not even finished. I wrote this like a week ago. I'm not going to give you any information about it. It's the beginning of a short story. It's about Bigfoot. And it's titled, Brother Who Comes Back Before the Next Very Big Winter. He is painted on the sign that welcomes drivers coming into Black Rock from the east on Route 9, waving. A bronze statue of him stands in the town square, along with an eagle, a bear, and a mountain lion. The four sculptures surround the gazebo where the band plays on the 4th of July, as if circling for an attack. The Black Rock monster stands in the pose made classic by the creature, almost certainly a person in a gorilla suit, captured on the Patterson-Gimlin film, mid-stride, head turned, looking back over his shoulder at the man with the camera. The alleged sightings flare out from time to time with long lulls in between. It's as if the Black Rock monster sightings crest and trough in accordance with some cosmic cycle, like cicadas every 17 years, or sunspots every 11. If the functions of the universe can be envisioned as a gyroscope, many wheels inside of wheels, then the flurry of Black Rock monster sightings is a tick mark on one of the slower spinning outermost wheels. Evidence. Where, Audrey thought, was the evidence? The first-hand accounts of unreliable witnesses, the rumors circulated in the wake of what were surely either honest mistakes or cynical lies. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, is what her Sunday school teacher, when Audrey, already a skeptic by then, told her she did not believe in God. Yes, but, Audrey, much later, wished she had said to her, absence of evidence is not proof, the burden of which, as a believer, is on you, not me. Later, when she was in college, much later, studying linguistics, Audrey would learn about evidentiality. Languages with multiple evidentials have grammatical elements, such as verb suffixes, indicating not only mood, case, tense, and so on, but also how the speaker knows this information to be true. The Tuyana and Tucano languages, for example, have 5 terms of evidentiality: first-hand witness, non-witness, non-visual sensory, inferential, and assumed. The example the professor used was the sentence, "It snowed last night." Because, he had said, if you go to sleep at night and there's no snow on the ground, and then you wake up in the morning and look out the window and there's snow on the ground, can you say, "It snowed"? If we were speaking Tucano, we would have to say something like this: first-hand witness, I saw it snow last night. Non-second-hand witness, non-witness second-hand, Mom told me it snowed last night. Non-visual sensory, I haven't gotten out of bed yet, but I can tell from the quiet of the house that it snowed last night. Inferential, I didn't see it snow, but I see snow, so I believe that it snowed last night. Assumed, I shall not bother to look out the window. The weatherman said that it would snow, so I believe it snowed last night. Audrey would remember the small mountain town she grew up in as always evidencing a recent snow. In the winter, on days of heavy snowfall, it could reach up to touch the octagons of the stop signs. But it was the leftover snow that stuck around everywhere for most of the year that she would most of all remember and associate with the place where she grew up. The enormous snowdrifts piled up to the sides of buildings by snow shovels, bulldozers, and backhoes. They get muddy and gray, glazed and crusted over with ice, and by spring are so hard they can't be cracked with a baseball bat. The gutters always dripping and pattering, the ribbed icicle cascades that by melting and refreezing again and again all winter long slowly glissando down the sides of the buildings until they reach the ground in the spring. Black Rock, Colorado is famous for 2 things, the Black Rock monster and good skiing in the winter, when the town of 4,500 residents inflates to 3 times that from first snow to snowmelt. All winter long, the locals become primarily the hosts and servants of wealthy outsiders, upon whom the town's economy depends and whom the locals simultaneously hate, almost openly. That muzzled desire to bite the hand that feeds is there in most economies of seasonal tourism. The Black Rock monster was only ever spotted in the off-season, usually toward the end of it in the fall, which Audrey's mother speculated was a product merely of underemployment and boredom. A few weeks later, when the temperature sinks and the skiers arrive in their glowing aurora of brightly colored nylon and vortex, the jobs return, and people no longer have time to think that they see mythical monsters in the dark. Hospitality and service kills the beast. The earliest recorded sightings predate the incorporation of Black Rocks Township. In 1912, 3 silver prospectors living in a cabin on the outskirts of Black Rock claimed that a group of 8 men had bombarded their cabin with rocks. One of the prospectors, Theophilus Phelan, claimed to have shot and killed one of them with a rifle, but could not recover the body. Many years later, as an old man, Phelan self-published a rambling and ungrammatical book about the incident, which was sold around town in the souvenir shops alongside backcountry tchotchkes like dream catchers and mounted jackalope heads. It was also, to Audrey's embarrassment, sold in the lobby of the hotel, in a niche of the wooden rack that held brochures for local attractions and maps of ski runs. Audrey's parents owned the Pronghorn Lodge, a mid-range hotel, not the place where people had weddings, but where they booked the spillover guests. It was a Western-themed faux chalet built in the late 60s out of knotty pine logs, sanded, shellacked, and now worn smooth from 30 years of handling. The lighting fixtures were spidery tessellations of antlers, which cast intricate and interesting shadows at night. Over the years, for lack of many other watering holes in Black Rock, the bar downstairs, which Audrey's mother usually tended, had become a neighborhood local. Audrey's family lived in the house behind it, and Audrey and her brothers had half grown up in the hotel, and all had been de facto part-time employees of the hotel from the age at which they could be trusted to carry things without dropping them. Theophilus Phelan's story, however, had always struck Audrey as particularly ridiculous, and not only because, as Phelan details in his memoir, in all his years and travels, he had also encountered space aliens and caught a glimpse of Ogopogo, the discount Nessie that haunts Ogokin Lake in British Columbia. What are the odds? But mainly because throwing rocks at a cabin seemed an implausibly sophomoric, undignified, and meaningless thing for wild, mythical 8 men of the mountains to do. Prior to Phelan's account, the Ute Indians told legends about a giant, hairy creature that walked on 2 legs like a man and was seen very rarely, always from very far off, and only at certain times and in certain seasons, usually in the late summer and the early fall. They had names for the apparition that Audrey was told translate literally as the bad-smelling tree man, big, hairy figure with eyes sunk deep in head, and brother who comes back before the next very big winter. The more famous incident happened in 1961 when Brian Franklin, the owner of an auto mechanic shop and at the time a member of the town council, Audrey supposed Franklin's dossier as a local business owner and active member of the community were, in the retelling, meant to underscore his credibility, discovered tracks, 5-toed, 18-inch footprints, while on a hunting trip with his son in the early morning after a night of heavy rain. He drove to town and brought back witnesses, showed them the massive footprints, and someone made a plaster cast of one of them, replicas of which are also available for sale in the souvenir shops. The sightings had quieted down for another 10 years or so, and then there was another spike in the mid-70s. Since then, there had been another longer lull. They were due for another one, and sure as the sluggish clockwork of heaven, it came. First, there was a spate of overturned and rooted through garbage cans. People woken up in the middle of the night by fearful rattling outside. Even well-lidded garbage cans, bungee corded shut, bungee cords, found in the morning with contents strewn helter-skelter all over front yards and driveways, especially if they had contained food or remnants of food. For God's sake, it's just bears, Audrey's mother said. She was wiping down the counter with Lysol. Audrey's mother was of the opinion that every single incident of a Black Rock monster sighting that was not a bald-faced hoax could be chalked up to someone whose vision was bad, too fleeting, or too warped by hope, fear, or imagination, mistaking a bear for the 8-man, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, brother who comes back before the next very big winter, black rock monster, or what have you. And I'll stop there. I suppose I could talk for a minute about, what was it, the writing process?
Your practice of your teaching. Anything you want to say about it?
Okay, well, you know, I think my teaching really, it informs my writing at the same time, which is one reason why I really love teaching writing, especially fiction workshops. It has a way of, you know, my opinions about literature and how to write fiction evolve at the same time as, you know, I talk about it to my students, which is one reason why I'm really grateful for my fiction workshops, because, you know, the process of talking about all of the sort of nuts and bolts things I like to talk about in, you know, my fiction workshops kind of keeps me thinking about it when I'm, you know, working, when I'm not teaching. So that's what I would say. Bye.